Sam, you're the dancer. You should be like killing it with the dancer, right? Welcome, all you business geeks, to the Business Geeks Podcast, an entrepreneurial show where three friends geek out loud and proud on everybody's business. I'm Super Joe Pardo of superjoepardo.com and indiepodcasters.com. I'm joined by my two wonderful co-hosts, Jennifer Crawford, the co-founder of Sparent.co, and Samantha Riley of SamanthaRiley.global. This week, we are talking profit first and whether or not it is the proper approach for your business. We have some other, if we have time, we'll get to some other segments as well, but I think this is a pretty big one that I know both Sam and Jen are really ready to wallop on. So is that a wallopy?
Well, it is now. It is now. That's what we're doing.
Making up words because we're nerds.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we love you, Jen.
All right. So Jen, it is your topic this week, and where did this come from? Where did you find this?
Well, I mean, profit first is out there in the business world. It's an accounting method made popular by business author. That's really hard to say. Business author Mike Michalowicz. He also wrote The Pumpkin Plan, and he's got a new book out that I want to read called What to Do Next. So he's a best-selling business author. Profit First really, I don't know when this book was published actually, but it's been out a while. And it basically flips the generally accepted accounting practices formula of sales minus expenses equals profit. It flips it around, and this is the foundation of Profit First. There's certainly more to it. It gets there's some complexity to it, but the foundation is the formula of sales minus your profit equals your expenses. And he came up with this based on something called Parkinson's Law, which, if you haven't heard of Parkinson's Law, it's our tendency to consume a resource when it is made available. So essentially, that resource in this situation would be your revenue or your sales. We would just consume it with expenses if we do not put profit in the forefront of that equation. In the first equation, sales minus expenses equals profit. Your profit is the last thing in that equation. And sometimes we never get to it because we're consuming our revenue with business operating expenses. So that is basically the theory behind the formula. So when I'm really fond of this formula. I'm going to go out on a limb and go ahead and play my cards in this debate. And we'll get into why, but because I'm fond of the formula and I'm a skeptic by nature, when I was researching for this episode, I did try to find alternative viewpoints. I wanted to find somebody who thought this formula was poppycock, and I did find somebody, and I think there's somebody else on this podcast who might think the same. So I thought it would, stir up a really meaty discussion. Does profit work apply to all businesses? Should you consider this accounting method in your business? By the way, there are certified profit first professionals, accountants who have been certified in this accounting practice. So you can find an accountant and a bank even to work with these principles, these accounting principles in mind. So anyway, we're gonna get into it here. So we had an article. This woman's name is Sigrun. I think she's Scandinavian by the sounds of it.
She's some sort of European.
First of all, Sigrun is not taking anything from anybody. I don't know if you can pull it up, Joe. But this is the first visual you get of Sigrun. Like, I frightened. Like
I was going to say, are you scared of her?
I'm a little scared of her. It's like how profit first kills business growth. And while we're talking about killing, I do that on the side. Like she's very scary. She's a very, very scary woman. Also, before Sam, I can't do all the talking before, but I want to say that when I was trying to find an alternative viewpoint, first of all, SEO ranking is like top notch on this post. It's the only one I could find. I could not find a lot of alternative viewpoints on this profit first methodology. So, Sigrun is it. Sigrun and Sam are alternative viewpoints because there's not a lot out there.
You've just dropped me in there. You have just dropped me in there. Look, first off, I loved learning about Parkinson's law. I can't believe I hadn't heard of Parkinson's law. The biggest thing I learned was now I understand when Leon opens a block of chocolate why I must eat the whole block of chocolate. There's actually a law about it. So let's just start there because why not? Do you guys agree with me on the chocolate?
Oh, the chocolate, the chips, the cookies, the cake, the ice cream. Yes.
There's a highway thing about that too, right? If you build 4 lanes, you'll consume all 4 lanes with traffic. If you build 5 lanes will find its way there.
And it's 100% true. This is why I vote against every single highway addendum when I vote. No highways.
Jen just lost miles and miles of traffic.
Yeah, so much fun.
I work from home.
Anyway,
What do I care?
Anyway, so the profit first methodology, to me, when I first heard it, made perfect sense. I love the idea of, getting all of the different bank accounts and taking out your profit first and, taking out your tax and taking out your wages and taking out all these things. And I understand the idea that, when we've got a smaller plate, so essentially our expenses, when there's less money there, that we spend less. I get it. I don't think it's a really smart way to grow a business. So I'm talking sort of the first 3 or 4 years. I don't think that it serves someone who wants to grow their business quickly.
That's the problem, Sam. Too many people want to grow their business too quickly. I think profit is the perfect and most appropriate governor to appropriate growth. Like, I think you should grow with your profit pace. And when you grow like faster than that, I think you risk building an unhealthy company. How many companies have we seen and who have revenue, huge revenue, multi-millions of dollars of revenue and they don't show a profit and they eventually crumble because their operating expenses and their debt are out of control. Like, I am like a slow grow girl when it comes to business. I don't think there's any shame in the game of growing your business slow. I think there's so much pressure to hit a certain number by a certain date. And revenue is vanity. It is just vanity. If you're making $1 million but aren't showing a profit, I'll take $100,000 business that's showing a nice 30-40% profit over that any day, growing slow and growing healthily. That's kind of where I'm at with this.
Well, hold on. The flip side to that is depending how the business is supposed to thrive going forward, right? Like if you do $1 million and you make $0 in profit, that can be okay as long as the asset that you have is worth something, right? So if that's user base and they're paying you month over month, then it's not the end of the world to say, okay, well, they're paying month over month or they're locked into these contracts. We can borrow on the future a little bit.
No, I want to cuss so badly right now and I can't. No, if you bring in $1 million in revenue and you can't make a profit, get out of business. I'm sorry. You have a user base you have a huge user base that you can't get a No.
No, it's because you spent that. It's because you spent. It's not that you're not making a profit.
Shouldn't have been spending it.
See, this is where I think that, and it was something that was in there was a TED talk that Mike Michalowicz did. No, it was in Sigrun's article. I'm so sorry. And she was saying that it's kind of like Profit First is the kindergarten version. It's the safe version for people that don't understand numbers. And I agree, because I think that we can run advertising where we're breaking even. So we're making no profit, but we're making no loss, because we're smart enough to know what we can make off the back of that. I think that I hear what you're saying, Jen, in that it can send people to the wall. But for those of us that are smart enough to figure it out, I think that there is another way.
Yeah, and there may be. I guess the counterpoint to that is if you're spending like so much in advertising that you're reducing or negating your profit, and that advertising doesn't pay off, there's no guarantee. Like you may be the most extremely savvy advertiser on the planet, and you can still have an advertising fail. And then what happens? You put on a credit card, you take out a loan, you get more investor money, and you get other people sinking money into your business. I think that's just, there is this like gambling mentality with business that can be really dangerous.
Totally. And business is like gambling. And I think that Mary Sue just talked about software startups falling into this model. And I think that there is something that you said, Jen, that I totally agree with. And that's people that have other people's money. So the people that they have investors and have all this money. And I've seen it time and time again where they think, wow, I've got all this money, I'm going to take a wage. And then what happens? All they do is spend all that money really quickly. So I'm not saying it works every time. I'm saying that it works some of the time. And I think that, and Sigrun in her article she did specifically say that, it was her and her husband. She was very open at the end of the article and said that she didn't take any money out in the first 3 years, but her husband was supporting her so that she could grow fast enough to then retire him, which is, I get. That's totally the business model that I went with.
but guess what I didn't
too.
Guess what I didn't see her.
But guess what business is? If you want a safe bet, don't go into business.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's a gamble by nature. But one thing I didn't see Sigrun talk about, I heard her talk a lot about revenue. And again, revenue is vanity. She talked a lot about how, because I went against this model, I was able to grow my revenue. But she doesn't talk about profit. Like, I don't care how much revenue you have, Sigrun, because you could have just as much debt as you have revenue. And she talks about putting all these expenses on her credit card. I wouldn't recommend it. I've done it. A lot of times it doesn't work out. So I know she went into debt to do this. I know she spent more money than she had. She didn't pay herself anything. She got to a lot of revenue, but that tells me very little. That doesn't tell me that her way was better. It told me that there's a big chance that it wasn't.
What about the flip side of like, okay, so you operate like Amazon. We operate at a loss so we can do a bunch of write-offs and, make it up in the taxes after the fact.
I don't recommend that.
I don't
necessarily recommend it either, but well, I mean, it's work for them versus, all right, so the flip side of that is Apple, right? Very much profit first. If we're not making a killer profit on it, then we ain't making it, right? And that was laid back in the 90s, right? Like we got to simplify and make a big profit on the things that we do make. So yeah, I mean, I could see advantages to both. To both. I think that understanding how much profit you have to play with, I mean, I think that can end in the same landslide as just spending right into the into a deficit, because you look at it and you're like, oh well, okay, we have $4,000 of profit this month. You know what our ad budget for next month is? $4,000, and now you're hoping that you can get to $8,000 the next month. To say, you know what, our ad budget is going to be $8,000 the following month.
Everything's and each of those is a gamble, and it's all in this quest to build a company quickly. Slow down, everybody. Yeah, Stacy makes the point. I think we said that Sigrun was supported by her husband. Okay, if you have a big
she was.
Yeah, if you have a big fat safety net, maybe you can do your own accounting. You don't have to do profit first, but I would still advise against it, because safety nets, what happens to safety nets? They go away all the time.
See, they do, but I'll give you another side to that. They give you confidence to move forward, because how many people are so fearful that they cannot move forward. I've seen time and time again people that don't have a safety net, don't have money in the bank, whether it's, you know, supported by her husband, whether it's selling a house, putting money in the bank. When they don't have that, they're so fearful to actually make that money that I think that having that safety net can give you the confidence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, safety nets are not bad. I'm just saying that I think the best way to grow a business is assuming that what happens if that safety net isn't there? What if, gosh forbid, your husband is killed in a car accident, or you find out he's cheating on you and he's running away to the Bahamas with his 20-year-old girlfriend. Things happen all the time. I think as business owners, our goal is what? To build a legacy, to become financially, to have financial freedom, to align our values with our work, to have the lifestyle that we desire. So those are big things. And I don't think you can have any of that without a really strong foundation. And I don't think strong foundations are built overnight. I think they're built with care and over time. I think they're built slowly. Have you ever seen a house that seemingly goes up in a day? I don't want to live now. I don't want to live in that house. I feel like that house is going to fall down. I want people to take time building a house. I want to live in a house that took like a couple months to build, maybe a year to build. I don't want to live in the house that goes up in 24 hours. So, I mean, I think it's the same thing with the business. You have to have a healthy infrastructure.
I don't think 3 years is really super fast either. No. So, and that's the kind of that sort of 3 to 7 years is the general for building a business and being able to take profit. That's certainly what I've experienced every time. It took us, in my first business, it took us 7 years to get to $1 million a year.
That's not
so.
slow.
That's not slow. No. But I was putting that profit straight back into the business.
Yeah.
The first 3 years, we did not take out a cent.
Yeah. And I've been there. My first business, I grew that to a 7-figure business. I did have a salary at the end, but I didn't have a salary in the first, several years, like first 5-6 years. I didn't have a salary. I took, draws when I needed it, but I didn't have a salary. And I had never even heard of I don't even think Profit First had been around.
So let's talk about that then, Jen. If that very first business that you turned into a 7-figure business, you didn't pull a salary for the first 3 years, what would have been different if you took your profit first from day one? How do you think that the growth of that business would have been?
I think it would have been a little bit different. I think I would have probably moved into an office space, not as quickly. So I moved the business out of my home into a professional office space. I took on that overhead. I felt like I could afford it, but probably if I was doing Profit First, maybe that would have happened a little bit later in the trajectory of the business. That was like a big expense to take on. Maybe I would have the advertising, like back then. This is so date me, but I know she. Back then, your marketing budget was completely spent on the Yellow Pages phone book, like there was no internet. So maybe I wouldn't have gotten the red text, which is a lot more than if you had black and white text or black text on the yellow. I think it probably it would have had some effect. It's hard to get into your time machine and think back, especially since it was totally. It was a while ago. But I'm sure it would have had a bit of an impact because there were expenses, and because I was scaling the business, there were times when I was bringing in expenses before we had scaled to the point where that profit margin was where I wanted it. Every business is different. Yes, it's true.
Absolutely.
Every business is different.
Yeah.
And every person that's running the business is different. And that's what I am definitely getting from this conversation is that profit first would definitely work for some people. And for some people who maybe don't understand numbers so well, I think it would be a safer bet to use this methodology than just to be flying by the seat of your pants. what I realized, and it was quite funny, I was talking to Leon about this, but this morning before we went live, is that I always used to say that I was bad at money. And after seeing this, I realized, maybe not so much, because I do understand how to move it around really quickly, more than I thought, because I thought that this would slow me down way too much.
Interesting. Interesting.
Brent says, in our case, the value of our paid users increases as we grow. So to try to monetize over growing early could end up being our Achilles heel. Just a thought. And he's talking about for Poddit.net, which you should totally go check out.
Totally should go check out Poddit.
So yes, you definitely should check out. Well, all I can say is, it's hard to me personally to apply this on the fly to every business, but I will say that the theory behind it is that it will work for every business. Like, it does work in every business. That's what Michael Michalowicz says. So, and it really is all about not eating up your revenue with operating costs and forgetting about profit. Because you guys have got to know people. I know people that do not focus on the profit.
Oh,
they focus
100%.
on the revenue, and they'll
100%.
They'll tell you all day long.
We bring in $300,000, and our ad spend is $300,000. Like, I'm not saying that this works for everyone. And also, I actually do think for a business that's stabilized, that's sort of come off that really steep growth, I think that this really does work. I'm specifically talking about that startup, that growth. Yeah. But with the caveat that person really does need to understand their numbers.
Yes. You have to. Well, that's what I like about the system. The complexity in the system is that it does force you to check in on your numbers more frequently and divide out your accounts. And there's some like checks and balances in place to make sure that you're funneling your funds to profit before your expenses. And there's ways to do that. We're not going to get into that here. Hire your profit first certified professional if you're interested in that. I am not that. I am just behind the theory because revenue means just nothing. It means so little. It means so little unless you can show profit. And then profit, I had I've been sharing this meme that Mary Sue, one of our listeners, shared with me, which I love. And it's revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. Cash is king. I say cash is queen, but you get the idea. It's like revenue doesn't mean anything until you can make a profit. Profit is nice, but it's not the end, because you really need to make enough profit that you can pay yourself.
Totally.
Yeah. And align that revenue with your values and your lifestyle. So it's sort of like this tier. And I think a lot of us business owners never get past the revenue to the profit.
So two things before we get to Brent's two points here. How do you propose that we fix it? Because obviously I mean from our conversations that we've had off the air, I'm very much how can I make the most amount of profit so I can keep the most amount of the $1 million pie that I can, right, in my business. And sometimes that means doing a lot more than I probably should, but not to have those recurring costs so that I can, again, keep more of the pie. But how? So you're at that 300,000 at 300,000 problem, right? So it's the $300,000 problem. How do you guys propose? Because my thought is you need to either target your ads better, right, or increase the prices of what you're selling, or the funnel to get there, to the ultimate prize. One of those two things I feel has to give. Because if you start shrinking up how much you advertise, you're not if there's a direct correlation there, then that's not good either.
Well, there could be so many more problems than that as well.
Yeah, it's just, again, I go back to growing at the appropriate rate with your profit. So I don't know if this will be helpful with thinking through that, Joe, but Mike Michalowicz, he says that in all different fields, he discovers that a healthy $1 million business will be taking a profit of about 15%. That's above and beyond the owner's $200,000 pay. And that's with 150,000 in reserve for corporate tax responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, most of us don't have $1 million business, but if you can follow this model and allocate the percentages. So that would be 15% of your revenue to profits, 35% set aside for taxes, and the remaining 50% is what's left for your operating budget, including payroll, overhead, and any other expenses. So if you don't have that $1 million business, the numbers can still apply to you. He says any model, any size. The principle remains the same. So work backwards. I think your profit should govern your expenses. It's so tempting to spend all that money on Facebook ads, but maybe you shouldn't. Not yet.
Definitely. I would definitely agree with that. Super Joe Pardo and I had that exact same conversation last week, did we not?
What it is?
And it turned into one of my episodes on the Thought Leaders Business Lab last week, that exact topic.
What?
Well, about reinvesting.
When it's the right time to reinvest into Facebook ads.
Oh, yeah, Facebook ads.
Yeah. Because what I'm talking about here is not necessarily Facebook ads. It could be taking on a coach, or it could be taking on a mentor. It could be taking on a team. So when I think about when I first started my coaching business, I took on a team like straight away, because I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. I knew that if I got held up trying to create all the tech, that I wouldn't be going to market for like 2 months, 3 months, because I know that that's what would happen. So I took on that team and I went to market within a week. I paid that first, so the profit first wouldn't have worked for me. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I actually think that it's a really, really great method for people to concentrate moving forward. I don't think I don't agree that it would work for a startup. That's where I'm sitting. I've taken my space and I've owned it.
I respectfully disagree. I think a startup is a perfect use of the profit first method. That's where I stand. And this, after this, as we wrap up this conversation, Super Joe Pardo.
I think it depends.
Where do you stand, Joe?
If you're like our girl Sig Run here and have a backing for 3 years of it doesn't really matter, then I mean, go for it, right? Just spend the money and roll the dice, right, and see what you get. But if you don't have that, then I think making sure that the profit is right is imperative. To go along with that, Brent Basham said most startups have investors specifically because they have to take on a huge loss to build something with zero revenue and profit, which I mean, yeah, that's would be why most startups have it. Not most startups have investors, because when I first started that, I was thinking most startups have investors, which they don't. I mean, probably, I don't know, 10%, if that, have investors out of the gate.
Yeah, and how many of those investors have gotten their money back? So few.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole game, right? Like, hey, if I invest in 100 of them, hopefully 2 of them will hit huge, and 5 of them will at least get my money out of it at some point.
Yeah,
get my money to come back.
Let's face it, if business was a safe thing, everyone would be doing it, right?
It's true. But so many businesses go for investor money because they're in a hurry. Slow it down, people.
Yeah. I would totally agree with that. I think a lot of times I don't think that people understand the weight of that, because now you're a slave to the person that gave you all that money. Like, yes, you took in $1.5 million of dollars. Like, congratulations.
And now you need to show the numbers back to that investor.
Yeah, you need to be running 24/7 for that person, and hopefully you don't fail, because
this is what it's like. We're going back to the house built in a day. You get the investor money. It's like your foundation is made of sand and you're building the walls out of solid gold. Like, it's gonna fall down. It's not gonna stand the test of time. It's gonna fall down. You have to. Thank you. You've got to be scrappy. You got to have the foundation. You can't just grow so fast that you forget about the profit. And you eat up all that money with operating expenses before you're ready to really do that. Anyway.
That brings us to Brent's question, which is, so do you think Amazon could have been Amazon any other way?
I don't know. I can't speak to Amazon. It's a behemoth. I don't know exactly.
But it wasn't a behemoth. It
wasn't. I don't.
Yeah, everyone starts at day one, right?
Right.
Everyone starts at day one. But I don't know what Jeff Bezos did in the beginning. I don't know what he did with his money. I don't know
Have you
how.
ever seen any of the pictures of him back in like the 90s?
Yes, in like the room where he's got like the homemade Amazon sign. I love that.
So Brent might be able to answer this, but didn't Amazon take like zero? They were pretty much selling at the beginning what their costs were. Like, wasn't it neutral? There was no profits there, but did I get that right, Brent? I'm not a massive Amazon person
where
either.
Amazon's money comes from now is through their S3 service, their hosting services, so for online. So like selling stuff is still not like a super profitable thing for them, because by the time they ship it and the free shipping stuff. But there was statistics that said like 83% of Americans or something have Amazon Prime.
What?
Yeah, I think it was like 85%, 83%. How many Americans
have it.
Amazon? Oh, you got it already? Oh, I have it too.
Yeah, I mean, I have Amazon Prime.
So wait, okay, so it says 82% of U.S. households have an Amazon Prime membership, and that was as of 20 July, a year ago. Yeah, so it is massive.
Yeah, and look, I think that again, he knew his numbers. And this is what I come back to. You have to know your numbers. You know, in the article, I think Sigrun was saying that you need to, do your numbers twice a month. My accountant would have absolutely have a heart attack. Here's all for do your numbers every day. You need to know at every single moment what's coming in and what's going out. We know exactly every cost that's coming out of our business every month. We know exactly what's coming in. We know what's coming up. We already have done our goals and our projections. We know what we're projecting to come in, what we're expecting to do with that, how we're going to grow. Like, we can pull our numbers apart so well, and I think that that's what this is about. If you can do that, then maybe you don't need to be so rigid with your little plates. Maybe not. Well, that's our discussion on profit. I recommend getting the book, and I do recommend reading the book and entertaining it. Yeah, totally. Thanks for bringing that topic to the table, Jen. I think it's actually really good, because what I want to leave people with is that no two businesses are the same, no two people are the same, and you have to take all of these different, learn as much as you can, know your numbers so that you can start to understand where you sit, because it depends what your personal risk, I was going to say factors, but, some of us can put up with risk more than others. Some of us are better at numbers more than others. We're all different. So thanks, Jen. It was good conversation. My pleasure. I love a good debate. That's, I love a good debate.
One other thing I want to leave with is I think understanding the future of what you're doing and where it's going, and the potential for it to be commoditized, and seeing one of our biggest problems back in the day was we'd have these brake drums, and each one cost $62. We had to buy a pallet, and there's 20 on a pallet, and then you had to buy a trailer, and there's 20 pallets on a trailer. So it's you have to invest $20,000 per trailer, and you go through them like water. And you're only allowed to make $3 or $4 per piece.
That's ridiculous.
Because it became so commoditized, because they watered down the numbers. There used to be hundreds of different numbers, and they watered down the numbers down to 8 numbers, one of them primarily being the one you need to buy trailer loads of at a time, and you just tie up so much capital to make $3 or $4 a piece.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So just understanding, again, going back to understanding the numbers and understanding the market and where it's headed, and is it potential is it going to be commoditized? Is the thing we're selling going to end up being commoditized at some point?
Yeah, but understanding that big picture, because that $3 or $4 might come with a different product that you make $500 on. So this is where there's not one story. Yep. You have to understand the big picture.
Yeah. Because if that's your your loss leader effectively, especially because you have to figure they're heavy too. Brake jumps are big, heavy things. So when you start talking about insurance to move them, and if somebody gets hurt, workman's comp and all that, it's when you factor all that in, it's like we got to sell a lot of other things to make up for the fact that we're selling these by the pallet. You know.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, was it Marcia says definitely case by case. Totally agree with the strength of the foundation is paramount for significant long-term success.
Thanks for that, Marcia.
And I think you know what the other thing is. I think you have to feel good about it, right? And that might sound like a bit of a woo-woo thing, but you have to feel good about what you're putting together, and how, you know, whether or not the numbers that you're pulling in make you feel good, right? And the revenue thing is great, but it's also a huge trap, because if you're, you know, you don't look at the expenses side and you're just like, look, we're doing $1 million, like you know.
I don't know that I agree with that because no, I mean, a number is a number. You know what I feel good about? I feel good about a profitable business. Like, I mean,
but a 50% profit and an 80% profit, they're great profit.
Yeah, but it's like, but not getting caught up, like you said, Joe. I think you kind of, I don't know, maybe I missed your point, but you can easily feel really good about bringing in, you know, $100,000 a month. Oh my God, you bring in that $100,000 a month, you feel successful. But if your operating expenses are $99,000 a month, you're not successful. Right. I mean, you're not, you know, financially, your business is not successful.
Right. But you have to, what I'm saying is you have to feel good about that. Like the fact that, like, hey, I only made $1,000 this month, right? But
I don't think you should feel good about it.
Well, no,
unless you're about to make $500,000 the next month,
right.
And this is
like,
where it's
the differences in the business models come out, right? So that's what I'm saying. You have to feel good about that and say, okay, it's $1,000. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I only made $1,000 because I'm looking, you know, next month and 3 months from now, and where our trajectory is because of the growth that we're continuing to have month over month, and you know, all like everything as a whole, the picture is looking better and better, even if the profit is. Because guess what? If Amazon had, you know, ducked out, you know, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have our Amazon Prime accounts today.
Maybe I don't know how exactly they ran their business. I don't know. I can't rewind and redo it differently. But I do know if your operating expenses are 100% of your revenue, something's wrong. I don't care what your business model is. I really don't. 100% operating expenses does not make any sense in any world, in any scenario, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to be very opinionated.
That's not like you at all, Jen. That's not like any of us. We're not. All three of us are not opinionated at all.
Very opinionated today.
Oh wow!
I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll think differently. Who knows?
Before we wrap up, Jen, who's getting your lunch money this week?
Oh, my lunch money. Okay. I want everyone to go to Splotch Monster Island today and just bask on that island of whimsical creatures. SplotchMonsterIsland.com. These creatures are created, they're one of a kind, by Steve Loya, a personal friend of mine. He's married to another artist, also a friend of mine, Chris Loya. And they recently collaborated on a series that they've worked on for the past month. And they're both artists, but they have their own unique style. So so Chris and Steve combined to make these Stop and Smell the Flowers series. And the reason I wanted to bring them up is not only they're amazingly talented, but they put together the series. They shared with their audience as they were creating it all month. We got a sneak peek on to see the works in progress. And then they had an adoption. And they opened up their online shop on Sunday at 11 a.m. Before that, there was no artwork in the shop. But 11 a.m., all the pieces showed up. They sold out in less than an hour by building up that excitement, having something first of all, wonderful. I bought 4. I adopted 4 of their originals. And if you have anybody that's watching, if you have a chance, just click and read the little stories that are written, their original little tales that go along with each of these splotch monsters, that tells you a little bit about their their personalities and their daily lives, and it really helps bring them to life, and you can't help but fall in love with them. So I love them as artists, but I also just loved their sales strategy. I loved how they build excitement. I loved how they built a sense of urgency to purchase. Oh, and by the way, while I was purchasing, they were flying off the shelves. Like, in fact, I couldn't even put them all in one basket. I had to buy them individually because as I was purchasing, I was seeing the sold, stickers on each one. And I was like, I'm going to miss out. So that's how you do it. It was a great lesson in marketing and creating a demand and a sense of urgency and excitement. And it was just fun. I think they married business and art so wonderfully, and I'm so proud of them.
They're very
That's
cute.
Awesome.
They're very cute.
Absolutely love it. All right. So that pretty much wraps up this episode of the Business Geeks. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in live. Mary Sue, Brent, Stacy, Marcia. I'm glad somebody's here for the opinions. I know I am.
Oh my God. Aw, Marcia said she loves us, and we love you guys too. And I love it when people disagree with me or disagree with any of us. I like a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it helps people to make up their own mind instead of just blindly following. And I think that's dangerous in business.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it just makes you think. You can't take everything at face value. I think it's good to critically think about these things.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I like Mary Sue says, let's be honest, a lot of micro business owners don't have a business model. Every business is not the future Amazon.
100%.
So true.
So there you go. We all agreed finally on something. Mary Sue said something and we all agreed.
Yes.
Brought us back together.
Yeah. Thanks, Mary Sue. The family's back together.
Yes.
Eating our turkey.
Yeah.
Thanks, Deirdre.
Thank
that
you,
was
Deirdre.
good.
Appreciate that.
Oh, I tell us more. We'll hang on. I'm just kidding.
Well, this episode, if you've enjoyed this episode of the Business Geeks podcast, share it with the business geek in your life. Send us your questions and suggestions over at questions@businessgeekspodcast.com. Catch us next Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and Tuesday, 7 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. For Sam and Jen, I'm Super Joe Pardo. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday/Tuesday.